Hey, John Granato and Lance Zierlein from the bench mornings on ESPN 97.5. A.J. Hoffman from the Blitz, the afternoons on ESPN 97.5, said yesterday that the Texans signing Deshaun to a big deal would doom them to being the Detroit Lions.
You can have a playoff team most years.
Yeah, well,
but you ain't winning.
There are worse things.
But I mean, if
there are
if
worse
that,
things.
But if
go
that's
be a
what
Lions fan.
You know what the Lions are? They're a bad team with a good, high-paid quarterback.
Yeah.
Who puts up crazy stats year in and year out. The team still sucks. I got news for you. Once you give Deshaun Watson $35 million, guess what's coming?
Agree or disagree?
No, I disagree with that. I mean, look, Detroit has had – it's easy to make a comment like that, but you have to look at both circumstances. I just happened to look at the Lions yesterday for a piece I was writing for NFL.com, and I was looking at DeAndre Swift's opportunity to be Rookie of the Year. And I looked over and I was looking at the history of the Detroit Lions. And I mean, their running games are an atrocity. It's just been terrible for the longest time in the world. And so, you have to factor in the football elements of it as well. And the Detroit Lions haven't gotten the most out of their pass rush up front. And their secondary has been spotty at the safety position. And, there's things like that. I do think the construct of a deal, John, makes a ton of difference because you can construct contracts so that you have the opportunity to sign guys who are coming up if you're smart with how you structure the deal year by year by year. Now, I don't have a tremendous amount of confidence in the Houston Texans, and that might be what AJ is referring to, but I don't think it necessarily dooms you to anything. I think, how you draft when you have cheaper players for the on the first contract, that matters a lot.
Don't you have to have some draft picks?
That's okay.
to draft well, don't you have to have
That's a problem.
those? Well, I disagree with. I mean, the Detroit Lions are one of the most pitiful organizations in all the sports
for a while.
Yes, and it's been for a long time. They haven't had a running game since Barry Sanders.
I got one for you. You know the last time they won a playoff game?
1993.
1992.
Two. Yeah, I mean that's
28 years ago.
That's that you can't compare them to. They're not the Detroit Lions. They're not the Detroit Lions. But you know what? They're mired in mediocrity, and they will continue to be mired in mediocrity. Deshaun Watson is going to be the Andre Johnson here. They're just going to waste his years. They really are. They're going to win some games. They're going to get to the playoffs. They're going to make some play, a little bit of noise, maybe win a game, but they're not going to do anything because they just don't understand the salary cap. They don't understand the draft, how important the draft. They don't understand all of those things under Bill O'Brien. And the Detroit Lions, that's saying you're putting them in New York Knicks, Detroit Lions neighborhood, Washington Redskins. They're not that bad, but they're mediocre. And you know what? That's probably almost worse. They've got a great quarterback who's dynamic, that can do so many things and can win you just so many games. But it's never going over the top. Never.
Well, so I do think that there is a danger in the second contract for quarterbacks because the quarterback market has exploded so much, and I think it doesn't mean. I think it's less about Deshaun Watson as it is about, the concept of paying your quarterback this huge a chunk of your salary cap. We saw it with Jared Goff. They're in a little bit of a pickle. We'll see if Carson Wentz can right the ship over there with the Eagles. Yeah, they won a Super Bowl, but he was hurt. He wasn't even the starting quarterback. So now you're looking at it with Deshaun Watson. If you give him a long-term deal, then it really starts to eliminate any wiggle room you have for bad trades, for bad contracts in free agency, or for missed draft picks. And you've given away your draft picks. So I understand what AJ's saying. Your margin for error is less anyway because of the moves the Texans have made just in this offseason. Once you give a quarterback a bigger chunk of the salary cap, that wiggle room gets even smaller and your margin for error gets even smaller. So that is the one thing that I am concerned about. But you're right. Historically, the team hadn't won they've had 3 playoff games under Matt Stafford. He's 0-3 since 2009, and they haven't won a playoff game for 28 years. That's a completely different level that I'm not ready to put the Texans in that category.
And he said without a Deshaun mega contract, they could actually build a better team. Listen, I think football is different than any other. If you've got a good quarterback, if you've got a quarterback that is really, really good, you're going to win football games. You can fill in with guys. You can find other guys. The most important piece to a football team is that quarterback. Would you give up Deshaun Watson to have a better running back or even defensive end or linebackers? Or no. You can build around a great quarterback even with a mega contract.
I think the one thing they have to do, John, is they have to keep him on this contract this year. Don't do any extensions. Clean up the salary cap next year. I mean, it's got to be a lot tighter offseason than they had this year. And that may mean J.J. Watt rolls off the payroll and you get rid of him with cap casualty. You may have to make some tough decisions and get rid of some guys that you consider to be replaceable. But I think you really need to clean that cap up in order to give Deshaun Watson the money, because once you give him the money, you have to have a plan for Zach Cunningham. You have to have a plan. You have to have a plan for all these guys that you think are going to be your core players. And this just in, I'm not sure how many core players you have right now.
Bill O'Brien already got that plan. No first or second round picks. No, you don't have to pay them money, Lance. So Bill O'Brien's already way ahead of you.